And I also want oh no. And I also want the transcript. I'm sure that will come through. All right, so today we're going to be working with the ELDAS, right? And this is such an important part of your exam, all right? This is the core foundation of anything that you will do from Portfolio 2. It is also the core of your exam. Right? So if you can understand what the ELDAS are, you are set for your course, right? Whether you continue on to do level 6 after level 5 or level 5 after level 4, this is going to set you in good stance. So this is a very important class for you to have. It will be recorded if you fall out of it, but it's something you should review quite often. Okay, so let's get going. What are the ELDAS? So the first thing to understand is how the ELDAS came about. And there's a beautiful quote which says, childhood is not a race to see how quickly a child can read or write or count. It is a small period of time to learn and develop at the pace that is right for each individual child. Earlier is not better. So when you're working within the ECD space, earlier does not necessarily mean better. Okay, so that's the first principle I want you to keep in the back of your head. And then we go on to the Constitution. So the South African Constitution says that every single child will have an education, right? But that's still, it's very fluffy. It's very big out there, right? It's just a concept, right? So that's the Constitution. Every child must have education. Then they took that idea that every child must have education and said, you know what we need to do is we need to split it into different groupings. So because different children need different forms of education, right? And from that, we developed the National Early Learning Development Standard, right? So from the Constitution comes the standard, and the standard says this is the standard of education. So every child should be able to communicate. They should be able to do ABC. They should be able to do whatever, but it's still very abstract, right? So if you read that document, it hardly makes any sense. It's just full of legalese. Then we took that document and now we created a curriculum, a national curriculum. So the curriculum up here feeds back into the NALS, which feeds back into the Constitution. Out of the curriculum, we have the guidelines. So the curriculum will say you're teaching A, B, C. This is what we teach in quarter 1. This is what we teach in quarter 2. And then out of there, because people still need more help, we have the guidelines for the program so that everybody's taught to the same standard, right? And now that the program is taught, we get to the last one, which is the curriculum assessment policy statement for foundation phase, right? Or for whichever phase you're in at the moment. And these will tell you exactly what the policies are for each one of them. Okay, so these documents, you'll never work with the NALS. You will work with the curriculum and you will work with the guidelines. You'll work with these 3 documents within your ECD centers. And if you have an ECD center, you should have all these 3 documents to make sure that your program is compliant. All right, so let's go back to the first important program, the National Curriculum Framework. This is designed to help children from birth to 4 years old. And the idea of this is to work in a way that's respectful, is to provide quality and to provide equality so that children can reach their best potential. And there are 3 things that support the national curriculum, right? So the national curriculum is here in the middle, if you look at the screen, right? And it says that the vision is to create educationally appropriate and age-appropriate material for children. What are the things that why? What are the why reasons we have? So number one, we say children's learning and development is important. That's why we need to make sure that they develop. We need to also say that children are competent people. Children can achieve things. And finally, children need strong connections with adults. So when these three come together, we create a vision for the curriculum. All right. And I must apologize. Today is going to be quite theory and heavy. I will try and ask some questions in between, but it's going to be quite intense. All right. So from this vision, from this idea of the national curriculum, we have three themes that come up. Right? I'm competent. I can do things. My development is important. And I need strong connections with adults. We then took these three big ideas and we split it into themes, right? We split it into themes, and these themes include, and that's what you know as the ELDAS, right? The first one, the most important ALDA of all, and this will be in every single exam that you write, will be well-being, right? Then identity and belonging, then communication, then mathematics, then creativity, and then understanding the world. So each of these are your 6 subjects, if you want to say it like that, within the ECD. Right? These are your 6 themes that you'll be working with within each and every ECD center. All right. So let's start with theme 1. And actually, I'm talking way too much. Let's see who's on my list. Bochabelo. Are you with us? Unmute yourself. Okay, maybe she's a bit shy. Brittany, are you with us? If you press the little microphone, you can unmute yourself.
I'm here.
Ah, Rory's. Okay, great.
Hello.
Hello. So let's go. Bochabelo, who are you? Because I see 3 people have unmuted themselves.
Botshabelo.
There we are. There we are. All right. Can you tell me, what does it mean to be a competent person?
Sorry?
What does it mean to be competent? If I say you are competent, what does it mean?
According to my own understanding, it's being reliant.
Okay. It's being able to do something.
Yes, being confident about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Being unique in your own way.
And that's exactly it. Okay, well done. Good. Remember, there's no right or wrong answers. We all here learning as we go through. All right. So competence means you're able to achieve something, right? You have the confidence and ability to do something. So there are 4, there's more than 4, but there's a few principles. Number 1 is we believe that each child has their own identity. And I want you to think of children you either work with at your ECD, or think about children in your family and children, your own children even. Are they exactly the same? No. Each one understands the world slightly differently. Each one of them has a unique life story. And each one of them flourish when attention is paid, right, to the equality of opportunities. Each one of them flourish when you allow them to develop. And then they are sensitive to group and individual differences, right? So children from a young age can tell boy versus girl, adult versus child. They are sensitive to the differences in groups, and they need to be taught to celebrate those differences, right? So just quickly, even though this isn't in the national curriculum, when you look at theme 1 and you look at the last one, right? I'm sensitive to group differences and must be educated in ways to help you celebrate these differences. Shania, could you unmute yourself?
Hi.
Hi. Right. So I'm going to put you a bit on the spot, and I'm sorry for everybody who is answering questions for today. You're going to be very much on the spot. All right. So when you think of children being taught to celebrate differences and celebrate their own way and their own groups, what type of activities come to mind, or what type of days come to mind that are very important within this theme?
Can you repeat that? Sorry.
Right. So when you think of children, young children being taught to celebrate themselves as being different, their culture, their groups, their own identity, what days and activities come to mind for you?
What comes to my mind is like what their favorite, like according to their culture, what's their favorite thing that they like to do. So yeah, then we'll go with that with the flow. We'll bring every child's activity and we can all do it together.
Okay, so Shania's got a upper view approach of it, and she says every child will be very different and they can bring something of themselves to this flow, right? I like it. It's very, very advanced thinking there, right? A very simple way to see it is that each child has traditional wear, traditional cultures that they come with. And one day that we celebrate it is, and now the day has gone out of my mind, Heritage Day, for example. That is where that theme becomes very important, right? Because they're celebrating the differences that they have within their different cultures. Right, let's go on to theme 2. My learning and development is important. All right. And actually, I am going to ask somebody else to read this for me because I'm tired of reading for you. Elia Goring, are you with us?
Hello.
Hello, welcome.
Hi.
All right. Right, great. So if you could just guide us through the principles of theme 2, which is learning and development is important, right? And then I'm going to ask you a question. So if you could read point 5 and 6 for us.
Sure. Principles. I am curious, energetic, and active, and I learn by taking up opportunities to make meaning about the world around me. Appropriate local and indigenous knowledge and skills are resources that can be used to promote socially, culturally, and linguistically sensitive learning environments for me.
Let's stop right there. Okay, so the first thing is when you look at this, right, and it says here that children are curious, energetic, active, and they like to make sense of the world around them. What principles do you think come into play within an ECD center? How is this shown in an ECD center? Like, how can you see it and how can you stimulate this for children in an ECD center?
I feel when you take out a game where they can play and you explain it to them and they start to understand it, then they get very curious, energetic, and active in the game.
Yeah, 100%. And children learn through their bodies. That is, I think, what one of the main points of this ELDA is children learn through their bodies. They need to be given space to be curious and active. And they're not just playing, they're making sense of the world around them. Could you read point 7 and 8 for us, please?
Sure. Play and hands-on active experiences enhance my learning and development. A comprehensive ECD learning program for quality and equality of opportunities.
Okay, so what is the saying? It says that children need hands-on active experiences to learn. All right, thank you, Ilya. I'm not going to put you on the spot much more on there, thank you.
Thank you.
So children need hands-on experiences to learn. It does mean that if you are going to stand in front of young children and lecture them, like I'm doing to you now, where I'm just giving you a lot of information, your children are not going to do very well. They need to play, touch, feel, explore, smell, taste, snuff, lick. They need to do all of these things in order to learn. So that's theme 2. Theme 3 says, I need strong connections with adults. All right. Okay, so remember, these are just the principles. These are just the ideas that inform the ELDAS. Right. I'm going to go through them very quickly. It says that number 1, I need a connection with my parents and with my family. And I need to be able to play within these safe spaces. Number 2 says that I need to benefit from having a close relationship with an adult. Then those adults have the responsibility for protecting me and for protecting my rights, regardless of my age, my gender, my ability, my ethnicity, all of that. And adults also have the responsibility to promote children's well-beings with inclusivity and child-focused activities. Okay, so that's where the principle comes in terms of the overall feel of an ECD center. Now let's get a bit more structured, right? Let's get a bit more into it now. So each ELDA has different sections, and there's 4 sections of each one. Number 1, it's the aims for development. So what are we aiming to achieve? Number 2, it's the developmental guidelines. So this is where we say, this is what the child should be able to do, right? These are the guidelines. These are the steps that they will have. Then section 3 will be examples of activities for each of the age groups. And finally, we have guidelines for how to assess them. So basically, the ELDAS give you what you're looking for, why you're going to do it, what the activities are, and how to assess. This is the core of your business plan, of your lesson plans, of your class plans. And each of the ELDAS are then split into birth to 18, 18 to 3, 3 to 4, 4 to 5. So if you look at your age group and you find the right ELDAS for it, you've got all of them down. So number 1, the most important ELDA, the key ELDA, which is well-being. All right. Let me stop talking for a second again and go down here. The next person on my list is Katlego. Are you with us? Okay. La Rochelle de Beer. I think I've been texting with you.
Hello.
Hello. I'm glad
Hi.
you could make it after work to join this class. You were the one that works till 6, right?
Yes. I
Yes,
work.
I'm so glad you're here.
Yeah,
right.
I just made it. Yeah.
So could you read Aldo 1 for us, and then I'm going to put you a bit on the spot there.
Okay. I need to experience an environment where I can enjoy good health, nutrition, safety, and security, and where I can develop confidence and resilience. I want to be happy. This is my right. I am usually physically very active, and my body is developing and growing rapidly. I need enough nutritious food, proper healthcare, and a safe environment are very important to ensure growth and development. This is my right.
Okay, great. So this is the first ALDA and the most important ALDA of them all. It's the most important area, right? And this is how it looks when it's split up, all right? Number 1 is, remember we said it's 4 stages, right? So what are the aims? Number 1, we make sure that children are well nourished from conception to birth. So how can you do that in your ECD center? Like what principles can you put in place that make sure children are well nourished?
Well, if it starts from birth and you have parents that you are working with at your center, let's say maybe they have a toddler at your school and they are pregnant or so forth, you encourage them to eat nutritious food. You encourage them to take multivitamins, prenatal
Yes.
vitamins, and those things. And you encourage them to be active and just to take care of their bodies so the baby is being taken care of.
That is such a stunning answer. That is perfect. Thank you so much for that. I do appreciate that. All right, so we take charge of our spaces, right? And maybe a thing you could do is encourage people by giving them set guidelines on what is healthy food, right? What foods do you accept at your center if you're in that privileged position? The second aim is good health. So it says that a child should be healthy from birth and have a sense of good hygiene. All right, so let's go to Lesego Lavdilia. Are you with us? Okay, that's perfectly fine. Lena, are you with us?
Yes, ma. Hi.
Hi there. All right, Lena, when I say
Yes.
that one of the things that we are teaching under ALDA 1 is hygiene, right?
Mhm.
What activities or routines in your class comes to mind for you when you're teaching hygiene?
Washing hands after using the bathroom.
Exactly. Exactly. We
Yes.
clean up after ourselves, we clean up after our space. Right.
Yes.
I want you to see, thank you so much, Lena. I appreciate it. I want you to see that your basic routines, even like we wash hands and stuff, we might not think too much of it, but it is part of the ALDA. And you can say that part of our lesson today is learning how to wash properly, how to clean our faces. All right, let's go to aim 3. Aim 3 is children are aware and they benefit from environmental and emotional health. Emotional health is the important word there that I want you to focus on. Mungiwe, are you with us?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So when we talk about emotion and emotional health, what activities could we have or what resources could we have in our class to help support ALDA 1?
Sorry, please, can you repeat again?
Okay, so when we look at emotion and emotional health, because children need to learn about this according to the law, what
Yes.
resources or what activities can you do that help children develop an understanding of emotion?
You can make a chart that have got like faces, like happy faces, sad faces. Then you ask them, how do you feel today? Then they'll show you there.
Okay, perfect. So that is helping build children's emotional well-being. And there are specific lessons that you can also do, but this is a very good answer. Well done. I want you to sort of start seeing how these happen practically, because I think when we read the material, it's too abstract. You know, so we need to start seeing them in everyday life in the classroom. Then, physical development, children are strong from birth, right? And they show abilities and interests in physical activity. Once children start crawling, they don't stop. Once they start running, they're running all over the place. And how we promote this is by creating play areas, creating jungle gyms, having spaces where children can move and grow. And finally, children are strong and resistant to daily stresses, right? So we teach them how, we teach them routines in this. So that's ALDA 1. In every exam, you will be asked to do a lesson plan focusing on ALDA 1. And these are the aims that you need to bring in to the lesson plan. So you'll say, I'm going to work on aim 1, which is good nourishment. And today we're going to learn about healthy foods. Okay, let's move on to ALDA 2. And I'm not going to go very fast through the ALDAs. I want us to take our time and make sure we understand them. If you have questions, you can ask in the chat box. I want to make sure we understand each ALDA well so that you know what you're doing in your classroom. All right, so ALDA 2, let's go. Let's see who's next on my list. I had Lorato. Lorato, are you with us? Okay, that's fine. And Kateko, are you with us? Going once, going twice. All right. Mufaro, Claudine, Penelope, are you with us?
Hello?
Hi there. Okay, perfect. Could you read ALDA 2 for us?
Hello?
Hello, could you read ALDA 2 for us? Could you read what it says there for us? Because this is the foundation of ALDA 2, identity and belonging.
Okay. I need to experience an environment where I develop a strong sense of self, experience positive relationships, and celebrate differences.
Okay, perfect. And when we break it down, you have the 4 aims, right? Children are aware of themselves and capable as confident learners, right? Let's go to aim 3. Where and to who do I belong? So what type of lessons or activities help children learn about where they belong? Think about what you do right at the beginning of the school year. There's a lesson that every ECD center does. Or what can you do to help children understand where they come from? Who do they belong to? Guys, if you have other suggestions, you can put it in the chat box if you want to answer the question along with her. Okay, Mkateko, I'm going to give you a chance to think about that, right? So number 1, we focus on children building things such as my family, my culture. What is my family, right? Who's my dad? Who's my mom? Why are they there, right? Who's my aunts? Who's my uncles? And many ECD centers have that right at the beginning of the year. Who am I, right? And where do I belong in this big picture, right? Then aim 4, children have a sense of group identity and sense of celebrating differences, right? This is like we discussed earlier, we make days available where we explore different groups, different cultures, and different ideas within our ECD. I'll be very honest with you, I've not seen a single exam in which ALDA 2 comes up, but it is an important ALDA to have within your ECD center. So I'm going to stop there for a second just to give you an example. There is a, Rochelle, I'll answer your question in 1 minute. Let me just discuss this example before we go on, right? If you take a screenshot of this, or actually I'll put it onto the groups, but you can also take a screenshot, right? There is a 10-day curriculum which covers the ALDAs for lesson 2, ALDA 2, right? And it goes all the way to grade R, and it's free, right? It's called Tools for School, and it's on helping children avoid burning and fires and how to work within this. And it's a very practical lesson to give because you see how the ALDA comes into play. So even if you read through it, you'll start seeing like, oh, this is how the ALDA actually looks when it works, when it comes together. All right, Rochelle, you had a question.
Yeah, sorry, it was just the one before, the slide before. I feel like it's mostly about, I feel like this is mostly for the 2-year-olds because that's where they discover themselves and that's where they
Yeah,
so
100%.
and that's
Sorry,
where
continue.
they see their identity, they see themselves in the mirror and they're like, hey, I've got long hair, or hey, my hair is curly, or whatever. So I don't know. I feel like the elder 2 is more about 2-year-olds. They start to learn how to brush their teeth. They start to learn how to wash hands. They start to learn how to tie shoes, for example, or put Velcro shoes on.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So what you've said is very important, and it's great that you could pick it up so far, right? So firstly, to understand that each ALDA goes all the way up to 8 years old, right? So even when they're 7, they're still learning who they are, where they fit in, but in a different way. But the foundation of it is exactly what you discussed. Round about the age of 2, identity and belonging are very important. It's a very important ALDA at that age group, right? Because that's when they start recognizing the differences. That's when they start relying a lot more on the relationships that they've made. That's where you get the parental attachment coming in, and you have all sorts of psychological reasons behind it. So what a great catch. Thank you so much for that. That's genius. Actually, I didn't even think of it as the most important one in a 2-year-old, but yeah, that's 100% true. Right, let's go on to ALDA 3. Lorato, you tried to escape from me last time. I need you back in here. Are you with us now? Oh, okay. Lorato, I think I'm going to give you a chance then to settle, because I can't hear you very well. So I'll call on you a bit later.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Right. So ALDA 3 is communication. Now, what's special about ALDA 3 or subject 3, if you want to think of it easier, is that it crosses all the others. So ALDA 3 sort of goes between all the other ALDAs. It's like a thread that ties them all together. And ALDA 3 looks at communication. And it says that I need to experience an environment where I can learn to listen, I can speak openly, I can learn to love books and stories, I can record, I can write, I can get ready for formal reading. And this leads us to, so in the past you would have literacy, or English skills, or Afrikaans skills, or Pedi skills. This is communication skills. So because you're not teaching a language, you're teaching communication. It goes between each of them. Let's look at the aims, right? So aim number 1 is, and again, this will be very young children. Children can listen to sounds and speech, so they can hear when you're talking and they can learn to differentiate what you mean by different instructions. ALDA 2, the second aim, is children speak using different styles of communication, right? So, for example, if a child struggles to speak certain languages, they'll fall back to their own words. Children start learning that I can speak with my face. I can show you when I'm angry. I can show you when I'm happy, right? Then you have reading as such as an ALDA, right? And that's where children make sense by reading what they see, hear, feel, touch, and feel, right? What is interesting here with reading is what's one thing we can do in our classrooms to support this, that children can read what they are touching, feeling, hearing, and seeing. Quintitious, can you connect for us quickly and tell us, how have you seen this in practicality, or have you seen it in practicality? Okay, I see you've unmuted yourself. So tell us, when you look at children reading words linked to what they are doing or seeing or feeling, what comes to mind? What do you find in a lot of ECD centers? Oh, I think maybe your microphone isn't working there. Okay, I'll circle back to you. I'll circle back to you later in a bit of time. All right, so when we look at reading, what we see is that children don't learn necessarily reading formally like you would imagine. We put up words in our ECD center and we label every single thing, right? So you have formal learning of reading, and that's when a child is learning the formal words, ka'ata for cat. And then you have incidental reading, or I'm not sure if it's the right phraseology there or the terminology, but you have incidental reading where you have labeled the crayon or you've labeled the paint, and children start picking up the word paint and how it looks with what they are doing. All right, so that's a very basic form of reading. I want us to go a bit onto aim 4, which is writing. Right, remember, this goes through all the other elders. Right, so Rory Sang Tomelo, are you with us? Ladies and gentlemen, if I do skip you today, it's not because I dislike you. It's purely because I'm just working down my list and sometimes names move around a little bit. All right, we have somebody with Samsung SMA256E. Are you with us? Am I just teaching a bunch of ghosts today? Sianga, are you with us?
Yes, I'm here.
Ah, there we are. Sorry, could you give me your name? Because I don't want to call you Samsung.
Munet.
Runette.
Munet. Monett.
Munet. Okay,
Yes.
Munet. Could you please tell me, do you have experience with children?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have experience with very young children?
Yes. 3 and 4.
3 and 4, perfect. Tell me, right, how do children start writing?
If
Like
they
when a
coloring
child,
something in.
there we are, 100%, they color stuff in. Do children one day wake up and start putting together the perfect words? Ka'ata.
No. No.
No, what do they do before that? They draw with
They learn
shapes.
something to do.
Yeah, they
Yes,
draw
and
with
so
shapes, they squiggle. So you can see they're trying to learn to write, but they're not putting the right letters in, right? Because they're starting to realize
yes.
shapes, symbols can make sounds. Right. Good. Thank you, Manette. Before the children do that even, they learn to speak about ideas and they learn to act things out. All right. And I want you to think of your own ECD centers. Children will, if they don't have the word for something, they might try and act it. They might show you what it does, especially if they don't have the word for it. And we're talking very young children, right? Or they'll point at something. And those are the foundations of writing. And that's how writing skills starts developing. Communication is an important elder, all right? And it's useful to just know that it works through all of them. Now we get to the more traditional elders, right? One of the more traditional ones. Who haven't I called yet? Younger. Are you with us? Oh, it's younger. Okay, Tebogo Shweni, are you with us?
Hello, I'm here.
Oh, it's younger. You're with us. Perfect. Younger.
Yeah.
We're going to discuss mathematics a little bit as a learning subject for ECD centers, right? Can you read through us what the goal of the ALDA is?
Okay. It says I need to experience an environment where I can find patterns, make connections, recognize relationships, work with numbers, sort out objects, match and classify things, and ask
Oh, you faded
questions.
a little bit there, then, and ask questions. Okay, perfect. Do you see that this is all the mathematical functions actually that you teach within an ECD center? You teach them about numbers, you teach them about patterns, you teach them about the relationship between numbers, you sort out objects, you match, so what's the same, what's different, and you classify things. Let's go into the aims. What are the 4 aims of these elders? All right, number 1. Aim 1 is children show an awareness of and are responsive to numbers and counting. What does that mean if you had to break it down? What is the first thing we teach children when they are counting? Do we teach them this is number 1, 1, and that's it? Or do we teach them through songs? How have you taught counting? Or how will you teach counting? Or what a number is?
Me, I normally put shapes.
Mhm.
For example, I'm teaching them number 1. I just put one object on it, and then I ask them to count how many. I ask how many stuff are there, or how many shapes do you see in front of you, and then they will count 1. And sometimes I would make them draw. I would draw shapes for them in a paper to
Mhm.
color in, and then I would ask them to count how many, and then they would count 1, 2, for example.
Perfect. So if you look at
Yes.
what Sianga's saying now, thank you, Sianga. If you look at what she's saying now, look at this. She is saying that she will use. Oh no, I've gone way too far ahead. I've gone to creativity already. Oh no, wait, I have to go back. There we are. She's saying she builds a pattern and a connection. Right? So first, she draws a pattern. How many of there? 1. 1 of this. Then she makes a connection. 1 toy is called 1. Right? Then she works with the number. What is 1? Right. So that's how it looks practically. Then we have problem solving. Right? And in an ECD center, problem solving usually includes sorting out objects. Right? Biggest to smallest, for example, is the most common one. And although we're not working with numbers, we are working with mathematical concepts. And this is something I really want you to understand. Teaching math in an ECD center isn't teaching numbers, right? If there's one thing you are going to say every time you teach exploring math, you're going to say, teaching math is not teaching numbers. It is teaching in an ECD center the concepts around it. So sorting, classifying, solving problems, exploring shapes, working out my space. How much space do I take? Can I measure? Right? You could start by measuring the size of a couch, for example, using shoes, and then using rulers, then using our bodies, and then teach the number. Because it's very important at this age that children not only know the concept, but then can learn the number, right? Very often, and a big problem I have is that children know the numbers like parrots, but they don't know what it means, right? So please, if you're taught through us, make it a goal of learning the concepts around it. Right, ALDA number 5, creativity. Oh, I got a bit excited there. All right, so number 1, children want to make sense of the world through participation in practical experiment. No, that's not creativity. There we are. I need to experience an environment when I can identify challenges and problems. I can try out solutions. I can experiment with different types of play. I can have make-believe play. I can do drawing, painting, cutting, pasting, modeling, drama, music, right? All of this for my creativity. Do you see how this ALDA is almost self-explanatory, right? It's all the arts together. So number 1, when we teach creativity, we're teaching problem solving, right? And problem solving starts with bodies. Look at the hopscotch game where you're jumping from one square to the other. You have to solve a problem. How am I going to land with 1 foot? Or what's that game? I think it's mostly girls that play it, but you have like a skipping rope and then people jump, right? That's problem solving. That's seeking pattern, right? Using the body. Then we go into creating solutions. And this often happens through imaginary play, or where we act like we are somebody or something else. We have costumes in our class, and maybe we act out the story of something. Then we have visual art, that's your drawing, your painting, because in this you're learning skills like how to hold a pen later, how to work within the lines, and all of this comes from those activities. And then finally, performing arts. And that's where children can build their confidence, their competency up, right? Music, dance, drama, learning how to move their bodies and what their bodies actually are. Think of yourself now. If you were a lot of the time in a safe place to explore and move your body, would you be a much better dancer today? Would you be happier with your body? Probably. All right, so ALDA 5 is your arts. And everybody sort of does that from the get-go. That's usually not a very difficult ALDA to do, and exams don't usually focus on it. ALDA 6, examiners love ALDA 6, all right? It's knowledge and understanding of the world. And in this, we say that children need to do practical experiments. They need to learn about objects, places, plants, creatures. This is science in essence, natural sciences as such, right? But we don't call it that because it's not. That they only do later. All right, let me just make a note here of something. All right, so number 1, children are taught to investigate. They get given an opportunity to explore. So imagine you hide things in the sand pit, and we're learning about dinosaurs, so we're going to hide some play dinosaur bones in the sand. Now they're learning that they have to explore and investigate. Once children start crawling, all they want to do is explore and investigate. Then aim 2 is a bit more complicated. We're now asking them to design and create things using technology. And technology in this phase is Lego blocks, building blocks. We're using those. Sorry, I'm going to sneeze. And then finally, we have children learning about time and place. And this is with things such as learning how to tell the time, learning where I am, learning direction, right? Which way is this? Which way do I turn? Let me spin around. All right, so that's a very quick view of the 6 ELDAS. All right. I know that it is a lot of information, all right, and I want you to survive, because the rest of the year, for the next 6 subjects, 6 classes, maybe a bit less, maybe next 3, we'll be working through each ELDA, and we'll be going to the ELDAS, to the lesson plans, how it looks, so that you can see what that includes. Can I please ask you a huge favor before we continue, right? Before the next class, whether you are level 4, level 5, level 7, right? Find the ELDAS, find the NCF, and find the ELDAS. Have the book, even if you download it and you share it, if somebody will share it on the groups, maybe. It is free from government websites, I'm sure it is, right? Find the books. Have it so that you can work through it and you can understand what each ELDAS says and does, so that when we're doing the lessons, you can bring a lot of information to it, okay? Because then I can meet you where you are and I can answer those questions with and for you. All right, if somebody will remember, please put it on the group even to remind the rest and say, hey guys, anybody find the ELDAS yet? Can somebody help us? Let's all help each other in getting the NCF and the ELDAS for each of these outcomes, so that as we work through it, we can start putting together lessons and start working towards what the actual effort is. Because that's the document that you'll be working with for the rest of your life in ECD. All right, that's my little preach. Now, NCF is inclusive. And in it, we say that no child can be left behind. And again, it's a beautiful idea, right? But what does it mean in practice? It means that you as the facilitator, you know the ELDAS so well that you are able to change it and adapt it for children who cannot run, children who cannot speak very well, children who have learning disabilities or problems at home. That is the sign of a really good ECD practitioner, right? All right, perfect. This is how the South African National Curriculum looks like. This is a poster that summarizes all of the ELDAS into one, and sort of like what the goals are for each. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to actually screenshot this whilst we're talking, and it's published by UNICEF. And if somebody reminds me tomorrow, I'll put it on the group for us. And this sort of just gives you an overall idea of the ELDAS, which is sort of all you need for now. From next time, right, I want you to look at lesson planning and how does the ELDA fall into the lesson plan. So a traditional lesson plan will have your ELDAS here. It will have your well-being, identity, communication, maths, creativity, and understanding. Right? Underneath it, it will have your outcomes. Remember, we spoke about each aim, aim 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for well-being. Right? Which aim are you working on? Right? And then which STEAM, and you don't have to go into STEAM yet. We'll discuss that in a separate class. So when you're putting together a lesson, what you're basically doing is you're saying, this is the day, this is what we're working with. We're working with frogs and learning about ponds and metamorphosis. We're going to have a sensory bin that looks like a pond. I'm going to be working with 4 to 5-year-olds. And, okay, well, this person lied clearly, but these are the elders that it's going to touch. These are the learning outcomes, right? Don't go do a lesson yet. Don't worry too much about this. I just want you to see how it goes into every single lesson. You'll be working with one of these elders. All right. So I want to end up with a quote for today's class before I ask if you have any question. It's a quote from Winnie the Pooh, and it says, Winnie the Pooh left feeling unsatisfied, a little out of sorts. He was distracted by his tummy, and he didn't notice the next paragraph. What is a paragraph? He asked. It's a group of sentences that form a complete thought. Is there honey in this paragraph? Oh, sorry, Pooh, no. Oh, well, then I don't find it very useful. And I think for me, this is the most important thing. Very often we try and teach children top down. We need to focus on teaching them bottom up. Meet them where they are. And that's why we have the elders, right? Because if a child is too busy trying to still work out step 1 and you're already on step 5, you're not teaching, right? Pooh was distracted. Winnie the Pooh was distracted by his rumbling tummy. So he didn't even care what a paragraph is. It made no sense to him because there was no honey in it. So meet the children where they are. I need to also thank you to the person who did this presentation. I think it was so beautifully done. The person who designed these slides. It was very, very beautifully done. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, firstly, today's International Father's Day. So maybe it's not in South Africa, but do appreciate the fathers and husbands in your lives. And then, are there any questions based on today's lesson? Are there any questions based that I can help you with for today? I've got a few minutes before we do the social work class. I've got a few minutes. Let me know. Let's see. Let me go into the chat, actually. That's a genius idea. All right. Okay. Zane, we'll start. Good evening. When are exams going to start? Let me answer exam questions early for you now. All right. Do not think about exams. The government, the CETAs, release the exams every date, every few months. And then as soon as you're done, you'll go into the next one. So we don't know exactly when it is. Usually it happens in June and October, November, usually, right? It also changes as time goes. So what happens is when you finish portfolio 4 for level 4, or for level 5, you finish section 7, you then get automatically enrolled into the next exam, you get moved to a new group, and we will guide you through that process to apply for exams, okay? There's no such thing as being behind. Remember, the whole idea of this course is that every single day, you're just working a little bit towards it, or every single week, a little step more, right? Working fast doesn't help at all. There's a lot of information. It is very overwhelming. It's a very detailed course. Do what you can whilst maintaining your life. Okay, if it takes you 2 years to finish, so be it. You will work at the speed you can. You will write your exam when you're done. Okay, do not think about exams. You will never be asked and told that the exams are coming up, you need to finish. Okay. Portfolios are marked in the first week of every month. I know there's been a bit of a delay with the marking. We are sorting that out now. But portfolios are marked, so you submit them online. They then go to assessor. Assessor then takes about 2 to 3 weeks for them. And then they go through to the moderator. So it should take you about a month to get an assignment back, 2 weeks if we really, really have good luck. Right. Rochelle, you have a question?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask you to explain to me to us about more about the profiles, the portfolios. What do you what do you put in it?
Okay. Is
Is
this
it
for level
is it
4 or level 5?
level 4? Because
Okay.
it's I'm still quite new. I have been working at schools for a while. I have 10 years plus what you call it?
Experience.
Experience with little ones.
Yeah.
So
So you're going to cruise through this information. The elders must have been very boring for you today.
no, it was still very
do.
interesting. I was still learning. I mean, you're never an expert when it comes to little ones. You always learn.
Yeah,
So
and
just about the portfolios. What does it consist of? What do we put in it? Where?
okay, so
what
let me
is
explain
it?
them to you. Right. So firstly, the portfolios are split. There are 4, right? And they appear on your portal every 3 months, right? So as you work through, like the lessons you're doing now, right? You will have the lecture video, you'll then have some text to read, you then watch other videos that support it because we believe in holistic education. And then after, I think it's just before module 3, or as you get to module 3, your first portfolio will come up, right? And your first portfolio will say, here's 8 questions for you to answer, and then you submit it on the portal. So you don't have to do anything before that. The first 3 months, you're just learning, right? And then you have a portfolio, which is 1 book, and that book has a set of requirements for you. And it'll be 1 essay, 1 lesson plan, and a case study, right? That's your assessment. So then you compile that book and you submit the whole thing together, right? Then you continue with your life. 3 months later, portfolio 2 comes up, right? And it will give you all of the assessments we do there. So for level 4, we've combined the assessments into 4 assessments. 4 portfolios, which all have different assessments within it, and they're all grouped together. For level 5, it is grouped at the end of each lesson. You need to do a essay or a write-up, and that's in your notes. It also comes up on your portal, right? So don't worry about it. If you haven't seen it, it means it's good. It means you're still getting there, all right? And when it gets there, I can guarantee it'll take you a day, maybe 2 days, to answer the question that are in there, to work on it, and then it's done again. Because remember, your portfolio counts a little bit, plus your assessments that you do at the end of each module, the quizzes, they also count, and then your exam counts like 60 to 70% of the mark. Right, Mufaro, can you unmute yourself for a second? Mufaro, Gladine, Penelope, are you with us?
Hi, Nick. How are
Hi,
you?
perfect. Good, thank you. I know you also asked a question about it, and I will answer it, but will you kindly also just explain how the portfolios were for you? Because you've submitted 2 already.
Okay, so what happened is I'm doing ECD level 4. It's like I'm cruising quite smoothly. Reason being that I am a vice principal at a special needs school. So I got to my first portfolio. I downloaded the what do you call the like it's like a question paper that they give you there. Then it had a bunch of questions. I think it had 4 or 5, and then including my practical. So it actually requested that if you if you're
You're breaking up.
working at a school already, you can just submit your like attendance register. So I did that one. Nick, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Continue.
Oh, okay. So when I was done with that, I uploaded the first portfolio, and then it took me to my I think it's the third module that I started, and then I finished, which took me to portfolio number 2. Did the same thing. What I actually do is I type my answers because it's easy for me, as I do it during break times or during my lunch time. So I type my answers, and then I just when I was done, I printed out, signed where I needed to sign, and then scanned them back, and then I uploaded my portfolio too.
Perfect. So that's exactly it. And that's exactly what she's saying there. So your work hours, your practical hours, all of it is in the portfolio, and it comes up naturally on your screen when you work. Mufaro, were they difficult assignments?
No, well, like I said, it's coming in smoothly because I'm working with the kids almost every day. So it's quite easy, if I may say. They're not that difficult for me.
Good. I'm glad.
So
I'm
it
very glad.
literally didn't even take me like 2 days to finish, and I was done.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I think it helps when you guys hear another student who has gone through it. Mufaro, you are so very skilled. The ELDAS must be very boring for you. I'll try and make it more complex for you as we go. But it's always good to recap on this. So it's good to hear from another student, right?
Yeah, make them more challenging because, yeah, make them more challenging.
Yeah. Look, you've got a lot of experience, and it will get more challenging as you go, definitely through it. But it's good that you also cruise through it and get the confidence needed, because level 5 is where the big, where the very big challenges are. Level 4 is preparation, right? It's your entry into the world. So this is good. It is very good. I will, Rochelle, put an example out for you on how the portfolio looks, right? It's nothing worth stressing about. Honestly, it's really nothing. It's not timed, none of this. You can always send a copy of it, of what you've written, and ask us to help you. We've done that countless times before you submit it. And if it doesn't look good, it gets sent back and you can redo it, right? And we'll guide you through redoing it. So I don't want you to stress at all about that. Our goal is to get you to finish the qualification. I don't want you to fail the qualification, because then we look bad, right? But I'll only let you finish if you've learned something. Mufaro, to answer your question, yes, you can proceed. You just keep on going till the end of the course, okay? Because at the end, we'll have all 4 of them done. Ladies and gentlemen, I need to go and teach the next lesson. We have our social workers coming into class shortly, right? So I am going to wish you a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful evening. I think our next class is in 2 or 3 weeks. I know we've got the April classes coming up. But of course, like today, there'll be a reminder on the group. There is a schedule that has already been published. And reach out to me if you have questions, right? Reach out to me if you have questions. Our next one, I think, is on April 30th. I might be wrong, or 5th. Anyway, have a beautiful evening further, and I wish you guys all a very blessed evening. Good night.